Is my perspective on living below your means. Just a whole thing, why I should do it, or why I do it, uh, and so forth. Basically, you can sum it down into this small paragraph here, which I'll read. In my opinion, everyone's standard of living is too high. Bring the scope out to worldwide, and if you're in a first world country, you're probably living a more luxurious life to most. It is human nature to want more and to innovate. Your new fancy home just feels like home after a while. So I'm going to base it off of an example of renting, but uh, it goes into every part of your life. So breaking down that small paragraph, global perspective, in my opinion, everyone's standard is too high. Like I just said, if you bring it out worldwide, if you live, oh, okay, I just kind of basically repeat myself. That's what Jordan Peterson kind of hinted at when he said if you live at the top, or if you make numbers debatable, $50,000 to $70,000, let's say 60, 65. Um, he lives in the top 1% of the entire world. So it's kind of hypocritical for people in America to criticize the top 1% in America, because if you bring the scope out wider, we live in the, or a lot of people live in the top 1%. So a lot of other people, I know Dave Ramsey talked about it too, when middle class in his age, or you could just literally talk to your grandparents, see what they grew up with, and what rich people did in their time, and everybody's living better than Rockefeller. It's another great example. I believe it was Rockefeller. His son died because they didn't have simple antibiotics that we have now. So couldn't save his son with all the money in the world. But yeah, I think we get the idea about that. And hedonic adaptation. It's not a bad thing to always want more, take care of people, or even just to have a nicer, apartment, house, car. I know I have my own wants. Um, I think I made a video on my vision board. So it's not bad. I think that's why humans are so good at adapting and evolving. It's because we want more and we strive for more. I think it gives us purpose and also makes our life interesting. So it's not a bad thing. But one thing that Joe Rogan, I know I'm name dropping a lot, but Joe Rogan said he went into this apartment or this building, whatever, he bought something and he thought it was fantastic. Has a pool table, everything that he wanted. He's like, this is awesome. But 6 to 8 months later, it just became a home after a while, and that's when he kind of realized, okay, no matter really where I go, no matter how luxurious it is when I buy it, eventually it's just going to feel like a home later on. The value of deprivation. So you increase your appreciation, better your perspective, and you reduce stress, in my opinion. When you deprive yourself of everyday luxuries, you are more appreciative of everything. I find that in my own life. When I eat chicken and rice every day, whenever I get steak, or whenever I go on a trip with work, and I have to eat out, or I choose to eat out and not eat a sandwich, from the grocery store, I'm much more appreciative of going. Sorry, I got a stuffy nose. Going and eating at even Qdoba, which I live right across the street from one. I'm much more appreciative than that because I eat chicken and rice every day. And, after a while, it just becomes the norm. So I usually eat the same recipe. You don't have to do that. I feel like it just makes everything a lot simpler. But to each their own. Better perspective. When you do go to a nicer place, still below your means, you still appreciate it because you came from worse. So, not making a sob story or anything, but before this one, I don't know if it was officially, but it seemed like a halfway house, which maybe I'll make a video way later on. But I didn't know that the Facebook post that said for college students only meant for that specific room, because the median age was probably 35, and a whole bunch of random people, really nice, couple strange fellas, one in particular, but like the bathtub was rotted out. You didn't want to touch the shower curtain. Sewage came out of the toilet one time. Landlord didn't fix it for like 4 days and gave me attitude. Just want to simply ask when it was going to be fixed. some mice and rabbit poop on the ground. Wasn't terrible, but definitely wasn't like the place I'm at now that you see, which I think is a palace in of itself. People come in and they like look around. They're like, "Oh, what's this? Like, why is the stove leak? Or why don't you have a light in your room? Because they use Christmas lights." But they just have a different standard of living, and I think this is awesome. It's got a bunch of character to it. But other people value different things, as you know. The third thing is I think it reduces stress. When something is wrong with a new place, it's not a big deal since you're used to it. So, like, I just named a couple things off there. Um, you expect it. Things wrong with the, or a lot of things are wrong with the other house. But this one's fantastic. Got my own bathroom. The drain in the bathroom is one in front of the toilet. That was leaking on the shop below us. So the way of fixing it wasn't to fix the pipe. They just flex sealed the drain. Same thing. They love spray insulation here, which I think is funny. We've got about a 2 inch gap between the sink and the wall. So they just spray foamed it and then cut it flush. But you know, if you keep bouncing around, you small things that are wrong isn't really gonna bother you. Maybe it transfers into your day to day life. I don't know. I don't really think about it that far. But if you go to a really nice place or everything's perfect, or even if you clean your room and it's very perfect, which I usually like having a clean place. Um, not I don't dust every day, but if I did dust every day, or I lived in a nicer place with no cracks in the walls or no dents or scratches, if I scratch something, especially if I own it, um, I'm gonna really pay attention to that. It's kind of like buying a brand new car when everything's perfect versus a car that's used. Hopefully no mechanical issues, but a couple scratches or dents here and there. If you get one more, you already have five. It just kind of looks uniform, kind of like Tow Mater from Cars, but not a big deal. Now we get into an example. So low rent expectations. Biggest part is peace of mind, less financial stress. You can prepare more for your future. You don't have to, if you get laid off or emergency happens, it's not that high of a rent. And if you leave, like every once in a while, I'm gone. I was gone last week. In July, I'll be gone for a month. They still give me a discount here when I'm gone, but uh, if I was paying like $1,500, like a lot of the apartments are in Minneapolis, I would stress that I'm not using it and I'm paying so much money. Um, so financial stress is a big one. Other one, I just talked about it, lower expectations. Won't go into it again. Minor issues don't cause frustration because you're used to it. Financial buffer. Gamma made this, so I'm sorry, that's kind of repetitive. So if you pay almost nothing in rent, something goes wrong, messed up, you don't get mad about it because you expect it. Only issue is when something major happens, like a gas leak. I guess it's not that big of a deal anymore because no, I was living here when I made this, but gas leak isn't the best. But sewage come out the bathroom. That one's pretty bad. That was the last place. So high rent problems. Everything looks fancy. Everything works. But you have higher expectations. So small issue become major frustrations. Uh, Budget constraints. You're less financially flexible, obviously. Emergency vulnerability. Less prepared for other expenses. And repair anxiety. Unexpected costs cause stress. So if you buy it, nice house out of a fixer upper, you're not fixing things up. You're just trying to preserve everything. I'll read this little paragraph down here and then I'll talk about it more if need be. So you pay a ton of rent, something small happens, it becomes a large deal because you're at the top of your budget and don't have money to fix it, or something else happens like a car accident. Also, if you're on a work trip, you don't feel guilty for paying for a nice place. I don't know if I worded that correctly, but you're gonna stress about it if you're gone. One part I didn't add in there is security deposit. Like every place I've been, I always have cracks and stuff that's wrong with it. It was kind of hard for them, and usually they're used to it too. But they're not gonna say like, "Hey, that crack in the wall wasn't there when you first moved in." Like they expect it, and you usually get your security deposit back, even though it's only a couple $100. But if you have a $1,500 rent, and you scratch the wall moving in, or you bump something, or you, I don't know, mess up the oven, like that 1500 is gone. I even know some of the newer developments that are cheaper that have the laminate flooring, and the laminate flooring was cheap, so that comes up. Same thing with the carpet, very thick or very thin carpet, so that peels up. Things just can add up, and I don't know. I haven't lived in a fancy place, so I don't know if they take it or if they expect it and say it's everyday usage. Who knows? That's just my outside perspective. Security deposit benefits. Um, I think I actually just talked about this. Lived in space, cheap place, things are already worn down, so nothing is noticeable, kind of like your car. Get a used car. Moving out, less noticeable wear and tear, even if you do have an accident during your stay. And full refund, you get your full refund, even though, for example, this one's $400 rather than the $1,500 apartment. There's just less risk associated with it. Basically the same thing. Sorry for it's repetitive, but perfect condition, new places, show every mark. Visible damage, it's obvious if something's scuffed or broken. Deposit deductions, higher risk of losing your security deposit. Last slide, pretty short one here, even though I'm a little rambling. But finding balance in your living situation, for me, I appreciate simplicity. So when you deprive yourself of everyday luxuries, you're more appreciative of everything. Doesn't matter if that's food, cars, housing, doesn't matter. Your respective shifts to value experience over possessions, which may be why I have all my decorations in my apartment are things I've done or things people have given to me. I don't actually have any like Walmart decorations and stuff, so I like coffee cans quite a bit. Got my quarters in my coffee can, change in my milk jug. Those random things. Got my hammock on the wall. Things that make me happy. Financial freedom speaks for itself. Practical benefits. I already talked about all those. So there's a good summary if you want to read it again or just watch a YouTube video. Sorry it's a little repetitive, but thank you for your time.